You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth. And we believe power talks and that the truth will set you free. Good morning, Melody, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's Friday. TGIF.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. It is Friday. I left us with a little teaser yesterday. I don't know if anybody remembers it. I had to find my article this morning. But this is just an example, and I want everyone to understand, and I think most of our listeners do, that the American people are we're used and abused. We have, to quote old Dangerfield, we get no respect. Absolutely no respect. Well, this is a former senior Peace Corps official agreed to cooperate with any law enforcement investigation surrounding a scheme that funneled millions of Department of State dollars to a nonprofit funded and run by former Secretary of State John Kerry's daughter. And this has been recently published. Court documents show this. Warren Buck, his name is Buckingham. He has agreed to cooperate as a condition of an agreement with the Washington, D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office that would keep him from facing prosecution himself for a related illegal lobbying charge. As also a part of the agreement, Buckingham admitted to the charge that he lobbied his former Peace Corps colleagues to help his employer, Seed Global Health, secure a $6.4 million State Department-funded contract extension around September of 2015. Buckingham also helped Seed, a nonprofit founded by and run by John Kerry's daughter, Vanessa Kerry, secure its originally nearly $3 million contract, which was also funded with State Department money in September of 2012. Buckingham soon left the Peace Corps while under investigation. I mean, this guy is a piece of work for improperly hiring an employee and subsequently sending the official lewd emails. Officials from both agencies met with Vanessa and arranged the scheme that would funnel State Department money to seed through the Peace Corps. Previous Daily Caller News Foundation investigations show this in detail. Officials from, it says, additionally, John Kerry's State Department hired Buckingham as a consultant soon after the former Peace Corps official helped Vanessa's nonprofit secure its first contract of $3 million. So that's where your money goes, baby. That's where your money goes. They're up there. I call them D.C. occupiers, occupying offices and cutting deals. And that's, of course, if the Peace Corps, we're all supposed to think highly of the Peace Corps. And if that's the kind of individuals we have in the Peace Corps, and I'm sure not all of them are like this guy, but wheeling and dealing and millions of tax dollar money.
Well, it's true, and I mentioned it yesterday on my program. You still have that slush hush fund, $16 million, and it just irritates me. Where's the investigation on that? Well, $16 million is peanuts anymore, so, hey, we're not.
Damn.
It isn't the point. The point is, even if it was $2 of taxpayer money, that is gone
taxpayer money
to have people hush up because of their, whatever they're doing that they had to cover up.
Their sins.
There should be an investigation and the money returned, and they should be ousted for poor conduct. And I mean it's just. It's everywhere. It's in every, and it's not 100% of the people, but you'll find it in every entity, every government. It's just everywhere because, again, We have no accountabilities. We're not held responsible for our behavior or our actions. It's like, who cares? Am I going to get in trouble? Probably not. So we're just going to do it. I mean, heck, Nashville mayor. She's got nude photos, evidence of a crime, refuses to unlock her phone for investigators, and there's security footage of early morning cemetery trips with bodyguard. Cemetery trips? I mean, it's just like, it really is sometimes a soap opera, but, you have
it is. The whole thing.
With the Missouri governor. He's
I have it right in front of me.
Naked picture scandal.
By the way, I did not vote for this man. I know he was the Republican runner, but I did not vote for him. There was just something I never, ever trusted. I just couldn't get past it, and I would not vote for him, and I did not vote for him, and I'm certainly glad. Do I think he's guilty? Yes, I do. I shouldn't say that, I guess. But yes, I do. I think he is guilty. And we were laughing about it last night as we were watching the Fox News, and they said, well, we didn't even make the national news. And I said, I coined a phrase from one of my youngsters when he was little bitty and he got in trouble. And he wasn't the one that was normally in trouble. It was his big brothers that were normally in trouble. And they kind of chuckled at the problem that he was in. And he goes, this is my problem. Well, that's what I said last night. This is our problem here in Missouri. So apparently we didn't make the national news. It will. It will. This guy has aspirations of being much more than the governor of the state, and that's why I believe he's guilty of what he's done, what they're accusing him of. Do I think it's a witch hunt? Yeah, I think it's always a witch hunt. They got to do whatever they got to do. But
no, you know what? I question their mental state.
Oh my
gosh. Because in today's world, you really have to be stupid. Literally stupid.
But they want to run for
to have photos on your phones and emails of pictures of you being naked, and haven't these people learned that it would be just a matter of time until, this is, found out or something. I mean, it's just...
they're never gone.
They're literally stupid. Yeah. And so if you're that stupid, how can you govern a state or a city, is my question.
Or your home or a household.
I don't care what they do in their home or their household, but...
but that goes back to the scripture. If a man can't control his own household, there's no way he can control anything else. So he's not in control of his household. He cheated on his wife. He admitted that he cheated on his wife. He admitted to these photos even, but he says he didn't use them as blackmail. And he didn't take them without her knowledge. Whether he did or whether he didn't, I guess, remains to be seen. But he's not a trustworthy man. Those who are faithful in little are faithful in much. And he's not been faithful in anything. No. And anyway.
Yes?
I was just going to say, we have Neil from Missouri. He might have a little opinion on this. Neil, how are you today?
All right. Now the weather's warmed up a little.
Yeah. And we had
this issue with the Peace Corps, this is nothing new with the Peace Corps. Back in the 70s, when my brother was in the Peace Corps, he was stationed in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Because he had an MBA, they put him in the bank system down there using U.S. tax dollars to help finance small farmers, to help them out. Well, it turns out these small farmers turned out just to be a front for the guys that owned the big farms. And so the money people were getting all the tax money, and the poor people were still staying poor. And then when he went in to visit Haiti, he found out, Haiti and the Dominican Republic share an island. And when he went into Haiti, he found that the care packages that were being sent to Haiti were being confiscated by the government down there and put in government stores and sold off the shelf.
Right. Well, the UN did this.
This welfare corruption is not just in the United States, it's worldwide.
It's right. Everywhere. And the UN did this. It hasn't been that many years ago that money that was being sent to the UN for some of the starving children around the world wasn't making it to any of the starving children.
Oh, yeah. They eat it all up with what they call administrative costs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we even heard stories during the floods in Houston I know there's some local people here in was Ocean City, Maryland, at church. They went, collected a whole bunch of stuff. They had a big semi worth of items. They get down there and they weren't even allowed in. The Red Cross wanted to take it all. And it's like, well, we're not giving it to you. You know, why would we give it to you? So they end up finding a church. They thought, well, you know, the best place to have them distribute would be at a church, and they went to the church and they, you know, unloaded the items and allowed the church to distribute the things that were collected and so forth. Because, yeah, you had that stuff, you know, it just, again, the filtering down of items, the trickle down, some, you know, you don't know who gets it and, you know, how long it takes. You know, there's so much red tape. Well, that happened with Katrina.
That happened with Katrina as well.
Happens every time. You'd think they'd fix it.
I know some people. Well, you got the human element in it, and humans are just rotten to the core. I mean, not everybody, but yeah, you know, they were lazy. They didn't want to distribute the water. They're sitting there. Oh, you can't do that, you know. But this happened in Katrina because I knew some people that went down there, and they were pretty upset with the Red Cross. So, and I've heard a lot of that even from World War II. People were upset with the Red Cross because they weren't doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing. So,
and you get that government agencies are just there to rip you off.
Yeah, you're right. Sad, isn't it?
I mean, look how many cities have ordinances now that you can't feed the homeless. You know, unless you're a government registered agency, you know, like a soup kitchen or something. Individuals aren't allowed to go out on the street and give food away to the homeless. No. You know, so.
No. Yeah. Don't feed the ducks. Don't feed the homeless. Don't feed the geese. Don't feed the monkeys.
I haven't heard, but it was either North or South Carolina. I'm trying to remember what the city was. Columbus.
There is a Columbus,
South Carolina, I think. They've passed a law that you can't be homeless in the city. You either have to go to jail or go to a FEMA camp outside the city that they've set up.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't heard lately what, you know, this is several months back I heard about this being passed, and there was a small thing on the news about it, then nothing. And I just wondered if you all have heard anything about that.
I have not.
They've been doing that to the homeless for decades. You know, everybody thought that, you know, we're doing such a great job on helping the homeless. Well, all they do is relocate them, take them out of, you know, they kicked them here out of, you know, Ocean City, you know, several years. Well, they didn't kick them out, but, you know, several years ago, they relocate them and where they used to have some places to go, they'd shut them, they close them up because it's bad for the view. It's bad for tourists. They don't want tourists having to step over them on the sidewalk and so forth. And you don't want those, you know, the homeless in Beverly Hills, you know, so they relocate them and they create these tent cities. Tent cities are all over.
Yeah, that has been going on for decades. I remember when I was a kid, there was a big scandal in St. Louis, where I grew up, that they were taking all they were picking up the homeless around the city of St. Louis, you know, cleaning up the city, and they'd take them down and dump them over to behind the flood wall along the Mississippi River. Yeah. You know, just some place to store them out of the way where they wouldn't have to take them to jail and feed them and all that. So they'd just take them down there and dump them. And that came out in the news, and there was a big scandal about that. And that's back in the 60s. So this has been going on for forever.
Yeah, it has. And, instead of addressing the problem, and, you know, I think it's fascinating. I don't know how true it is, but you have all these cities underground that house the homeless and so forth. So, out of sight, out of mind. And it's fascinating. It's terrible at the same time, but,
Yeah. We're going into a break. Neil, thank you so much. You have a wonderful weekend. We did get a little break in the drought. We did get a little break in the drought here in Missouri. It's still cloudy, but I think rain is going to move. I think we're supposed to get some more rain yet this weekend, then to move out. You're listening to Power Talks. The number to call is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. Melody and Beth Ann will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually, there is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the Third Temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the Third Temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. I want to talk a little bit, and we'll see how far this goes, because Melody, we have pretty good conversations when we're on the break. They're talking about with the gun control. Now, we have shared the Useful Idiots in the past, which is an excerpt from the book of Saul Alinsky, and this is what the left tries to follow. And in this, it has the 8 steps to a socialist state. And number 4 is gun control. And in this statement, it states, so don't be confused about them saying we want to keep the children safe. It says, number 4 under gun control, remove the ability to defend themselves from the government. That way you are able to create a police state. So as they are screaming at these town halls, and just, literally rude and obnoxious and horrible how they treated Dana Loesch, and I'm not necessarily a Dana Loesch fan, but Dana Loesch, who is a spokesperson for the NRA, and Senator Marco Rubio, they went after him, and a few others. They went after him. Not in a nice way. They were not there to have a sit-down powwow, let's talk about the problems and come up with a solution. That was not it. They only have one solution in mind, and that's gun control. Take the guns away. But we find out that in this attack in Florida anyway, and we know that in others there were misses. They missed the mark. More legislation, and more laws are not going to fix the human element of mistakes. And it's just not going to happen. When you remove the guns from the law-abiding citizens, then you make a clear path for the bad guys. And that's just the truth of it. But it came out that, of course, not only did the FBI miss the mark, they had been reported to about this young man that he had problems. And they should have done something about it. He should have never gotten a gun. He should have never been able to be on the campus again there at the school. And now we find out there was an armed guard, a deputy that was on the scene, did not go in to do anything after 4 minutes. Now, 4 minutes may not sound like a long time, but 4 minutes is a very long time in a crisis. You have to act and react fast and quickly. So we have two things here that could have stopped death and didn't. More legislation, more gun control is not going to control the human element that failed at least in the Florida scene. And I know it failed in some of the others, the ones that attacked. And that was in Florida as well, wasn't it? Where they went into that meeting. It was kind of a party of sorts, Christmas party, wasn't it? And they went in, shot him up, and she was a known terrorist. I mean, she was from a terrorist group, and came.
Lord, that was California, but that was ISIS.
Yes, but they still went in and shot. But they still went in and shot up these people,
mm-hmm.
and our government, missed the mark. They should have been able to have had that one off, too. And again, it was neighbors were afraid to say anything, and this and that and that and this. But all the laws in the world wouldn't have stopped it. But people could have stopped it. And that's my point, anyway, was that all the legislation and all the laws, they're not going to stop that human failure element. And we seem to have an awful lot of that these days. So, anyway, we have another caller. We have Joe in Arkansas. Joe, how are you today?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we're in late winter now and it's starting to look a little bit springy. How are you all?
Just fine, thanks. What you got?
Okay.
What you got for us?
Okay, well, I wanted to comment on a story that was kind of prominent in the news last week, and that was the unveiling of the Obama portrait, and I heard a number of commentators on talk radio talking about this, and a lot of the conservative commentators were saying that these paintings look very amateurish, they're too flat, all this kind of stuff, They had nothing but, criticism of them, and they thought they weren't professionally done at all. So as a person that's made a few $1,000s from portrait painting, and generally my customers for my portraits have been pretty happy with what I've done, I thought I had some, right to say something about these portraits. So I went and looked at them, and I don't see anything particularly wrong with them. I think they're quite well done, very professional, very competent paintings. I do have three small criticisms of them. Number one is that they look a little too static because there's too many hard edges. Painters are taught that you should make some of the edges soft and some of the edges hard because that makes things look more natural, because when you look at something, your eye focuses on things, and the things you focus on have hard edges, whereas everything else towards the periphery is more blurred and softer. So it makes things look more natural if you don't make all the edges hard in the paintings. And these paintings had all the edges too hard, I think, so it looks a little bit static because of that, not quite natural. And the other thing is the background of Obama's painting. It just does not seem suitable for him to me. It's all those leaves and flowers, Barack Obama, I think, is a city boy that spent all his life in the big cities, Jakarta and Chicago and Washington, D.C. And about the closest he likes to get to nature, I think, is a golf course. And so it would have been a lot more appropriate to put him in a mansion or in a university or in a government office or something like that. Putting him in nature like that just does not seem appropriate for a man of his sort. So that's another criticism I have. And as far as the background on Michelle's painting, at first I thought that was bad, because it just looked a little too empty and barren to me. But then I thought, no, I think this is a very appropriate background for Michelle, because she is like an empty windbag with no thoughts of her own. Everything she says is nothing but regurgitation of left-wing talking points. Therefore, so her mind is like a blank, barren, desolate, empty space with no thoughts of her her own, just whatever her left-wing influences have fed her. So that barren background really is appropriate for Michelle. So that's what I have to say about those paintings.
What I was told with Michelle, or what I heard, and I didn't concentrate on either one of those. Well, it was that the artist makes the statement. It wasn't necessarily the person in the picture, but the artist is making a statement, and he put President Obama in that because he was the first black president, and of course the slaves came from over in Africa, and that was supposed to be that kind of a scene. I didn't see it as an Africa scene, but anyway, that's what he was saying. They were like, what did he call it? Twinkins or something, because they were both had the same background in their heritage. But what I had heard was with Michelle that they didn't think she had seen it before it was displayed or revealed, and that they weren't sure that she really liked it. That it wasn't the portrait itself wasn't a likeness of her. That it wasn't a good painting of her. And so, I really didn't get a good close look at them. I had just broke my arm, and I was sitting there without my glasses on every time they brought those pictures up. But, that's kind of what I was. I mean, I don't care what pictures they have. If that's what they want displayed, then that's, I don't care. But
I know, and it was amazing how much time they spent on
that.
And it's just like, that's what art is. We all interpret it differently.
Yeah.
And, we see things differently. We lean, sometimes we can see the anger, sometimes we can see the beauty, sometimes we can, perhaps see the message that maybe the artist was trying to deliver in the art. But I do love Joe's interpretation of
Michelle Obama.
Crack me up. But Obama's, I heard that a lot of that greenery was in relationship to perhaps Hawaii more than, and also he did have flowers in there representing the various places that he lived, which was Kenya, which was Hawaii, the flowers. And so I did take a little bit, I looked a little bit closer at the flowers, but I wouldn't know which flower was from where. But it was surprising how critical the media was.
Yeah, they were.
It's like, it must be a slow news week or something, but anyway. But you were spot on, Joe.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks, Joe. Good chuckle for the weekend.
I love
Like I said, I didn't really get a close-up look at any of them, and I listened to them ramble on, and then they were making fun of what the artist on President Barack Obama's had said. He made some kind of a made-up word about twins or something, because they both had Kenya background, they both had some heritage background that was similar, and so he felt like twinkins or something like that. I can't remember what he said now, and it must have been a slow news week. They were sick of the dossier or something, and so they concentrated on that. And to me, it makes no difference. He was president of the United States. If that's what he chooses for his portrait to go into his library, and Michelle, if that's what they like, then so be it. I don't care. It's up to them. They're not the traditional. That was the whole thing. It wasn't the traditional portrait that I guess we're all used to, and so they had to make some kind of comment and criticism and whatever on it. So.
Here's an interesting article that the New York's Waldorf Astoria is now controlled by the Chinese government. One of the symbols, of course, everybody knows of the Waldorf Astoria in New York, and the Chinese government has taken control of Anbang Insurance Company, and that is a Beijing-based conglomerate that has aggressively acquired overseas companies, and one of the properties include the Waldorf Astoria. The move highlights the complexities that the U.S. faces as more and more Chinese companies often with opaque ownership structures, attempt to purchase stateside companies. So this came out, it was a statement that the Chinese Insurance Regulatory Commission said it was acting to protect the insurance product consumers because this Anbang was in danger of insolvency. So a government work group will control, at least for 1 year. It's not sure what will happen after this year to the company's ownership. But one possibility is a government orchestrated sale of a stake in the company. So, it's so this is, the Anbang purchased from Hilton in 2014 for $1.95 billion. So this hotel is now directly under the Chinese government. And so I don't know if there's, I don't know. We've got the large, and again, this is what we will do in order to continue to sell the debt, because we need people buying our debt. Our country is collateral.
And I heard last night where the companies, the American companies that are in China, are now being forced in China to play by China rules, by China government rules. They are to be what's the word? Congenial to the government, and they are supposed to practice censorship and other things that the Chinese government practices. So they're being very persecuted. Is that the right word? I don't think that's necessarily the right word, but very watched over. And they are going to be forced to play by their rules. And what do you expect when you go to another country? America's the only one that gets sued because we want somebody to abide by our rules.
It's just not other countries, it's China.
That's right.
It's China. And I can't imagine that they would expect anything else than anything less when they moved there. But I also believe that this was, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this one. Maybe I better not. But but you do know that Washington is owned by these multinational corporations, and I do believe a lot of them do want to come back, not to be beneficial to the United States, but to get out of under the controls that they find themselves in with the Chinese government, the Asian government. So that's my belief. That's so we'll see. If they bring plants manufacturing back from China, we'll see how it does benefit us. But that was just my view of things, that this is why there was this big push for trade and everything. Because as a country, I believe we're bankrupt anyway, and it is just a matter of time. We can perhaps stem the losses to some degree when the system collapses. I mean, we have structure problems, big structure problems. It's very weak. And so we can hold it up with various ways to, but ultimately I believe it will crash. And, and just, go back to what we were talking about, the fraud that's perpetrated against the American people and the tax dollars. We're just getting no respect. I didn't read it. I've got a chauffeur these days, and he's in the office, and he's reading the newspaper while I'm gathering news for us and for the other show. And he starts chuckling, and he looks at it, and he shows me they're going to start this, and I can't remember how many millions of dollars it's going to take. They're going to renovate the structure, the outside structure of the state capitol here in Jeff City. And I said, well, the roads can wait. The roads can wait. We all talk about infrastructure and how we need this and need that, but we're going to spend a couple of $2 or $3 million or more on the fascia of the state capitol because it needs a facelift, and
I don't know whether they're going to do a lot of sandblasting or what it is that they're going to do, but it's going to cost several $1 million, and, the roads can wait. They can just simply wait.
Yeah, folks.
Certain things that count. Certain things just mean more.
Yeah, folks need to go to our website, dgscoins.com. We have just a little article in the infrastructure and where the funding is going to come from and so forth, that they talk about, the trillions of dollars that are needed, and, to where there'd be private funding and so forth. Do you know of any private funding that goes on in this country, particularly when interest rates are going to be rising? And so you can go to our website, dgscoins.com. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get that sent out. I'm not sure if we're going to send it out as a little weekly thing or if it'll actually be on our Monday newsletter, but it doesn't matter. You sign up and you'll get it one way or another. So it's interesting, but you're right. I mean, the funds that are nobody pays attention. Nobody just, that's good. I'll make it. It's a little dirty, and, can't have the building falling down on the politicians.
Well, they're going to close that whole area down there. They've got some memorials and such, and I guess it'll all be closed down while they're doing all this. I don't know how long it's going to take or when they're even starting it. My husband was reading the article, just showed me the picture. So it is something that's going on here in the state of Missouri, and I'm sure your state's not exempt from having such priorities. So we can laugh at them. Speaking of priorities, I don't remember that we talked on air about this yesterday, but it's one of my favorite topics to go after Nancy Pelosi, because she's just so much fun to go after. She makes it so easy.
You're
I know that you
about the mowing, are you?
I was going to talk about the mowing. Yes, I was.
The mowing.
Well, did we talk on air? I knew we talked in private. Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to do it again because it's Nancy Pelosi. And, she had this brilliant idea that what we need to do at the border, we have options. She was saying we have options. We could build a fence where the fence is needed, and then we can just mow so they can't sneak across in the grass. Just keep it mowed. And I made the comment. I know I didn't say this on air yesterday. I made the comment on it when Melody and I were talking off air, and Melanie got tickled about it, and I was really happy that I made you laugh. Because I said, well, I guess we could hire all the illegals to do the mowing and the lawn down there, and we could also build a big, beautiful hedge and have them keep it, because the Americans can't do that. We have to hire the illegals. Anyway, that was I didn't hear everybody laugh like they were supposed to, but anyway, I get a big kick out of Nancy Pelosi. So.
Yeah, I mean, is it Feinstein? She's fighting for the Democratic Party endorsement, and like maybe her age is an issue. Is and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, it's an issue. I mean, look what comes out of their mouths. I mean, it's it's just, yeah, folks, you guys are all too old. Get out of here, Not that I have a problem with age. I'm up there too, I'm not as old as they are, but I would like to gracefully retire. I'm not going to be sitting here when I'm 90. Well, maybe I will be. When I'm 90 doing radio shows if what comes out of my mouth isn't making sense. So retire gracefully, ladies and gentlemen, from the political arena.
I have absolutely no ambitions to retire. Not yet, anyway. I'm just getting started. I did my duty there raising all them kiddos, and now I've kind of got a second wind, except when I break my arm. I have a second wind, and I'm ready to roll again. And I really like what I'm doing. I hope that I encourage people with what I do. I know I'm not some trained journalist or anything like that, and I know I don't always get it right. But it's not because I got an agenda to get it wrong. It's because I just don't always get it right. So that's why I rely on my listeners so much as well. But, Melody, Pelosi and some of these that have been there so long, and, of course, I know we talked a little bit about this yesterday when she was going on her speech and talking about how evil and wrong and everything that the tax bill was, and somebody's yelling from the back of the room that what is your net worth? What are you worth? How much money are you worth right now? And I said, they must be listening to CSC Talk Radio and Power Talks, because I believe I told everybody to start asking them, what was your net worth before you took office and what is it now?
Right.
And then you'll have the answer of who really counts in their book. And Pelosi yelled, that she had 5 children and she could holler over anybody. And I'm thinking, yeah, right.
Well, this gets bizarre. It must be Bizarre Friday. That's what it's going to be, Bizarre Friday. Maybe we'll change the title to our Friday programs. This was out by the Sacramento Bee, and it involves the Illinois governor. Illinois Governor Bruce Rauner took part in an unusual demonstration involving chocolate milk to promote diversity in workplace during a Black History Month event in Chicago on the 21st of February. Footage of the event at the Chicago Thompson Center shows Tyrone Stodmeyer, Hyatt Hotel's Vice President of Global Diversity, asking the governor to hold a glass of milk, which Stodmeyer said represented the lack of diversity in corporate America leadership. White men, a few white women, and just maybe an Asian in technology. Now, how this chocolate syrup represents diversity? Stodmeyer says, holding up a Hershey's syrup. In the broad list of diversity, Stodmeyer places women, people of color, people with disabilities, the aging population, Generation X, Y, and Z, Illinois. I mean, it's like, how much did that cost, number one? I get Hershey's chocolate's not that expensive. But this whole demonstration, to me, that's more racist than what they're trying to show as a coming together of diversity. I mean, it's just like,
why do we need diversity?
Am I the only one that sees this?
Why do we need diversity? Because you can be whatever race you want to be.
Yeah.
What difference does that make? We're heading into another break. 717-300.
These are the people that people elect. What is wrong with that? Oh, it's Chicago.
There you go.
We got listeners in Chicago, so I don't mean you.
717-300-1218. You got me tickled. I can't even give the number. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann, and we'll be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. And, you know, we were talking about, as we went into the break, we were chuckling about what difference does it make, because you can choose your race. And, of course, we talked about that yesterday. And this is really not funny, but this is something that this gentleman has been attacked all his life. He's a very well-known, very successful, good constitutional Supreme Court Judge, Clarence Thomas. And they're after him again, and this is some gal that's written a book, and she's gone back to all the things that he was accused of before, which were all debunked. And she's bringing them all back up again, because she claims that these women that accused Clarence Thomas they were silenced. Their Me Too was silenced. I'm kind of sick and tired of the Me Too movement. There seems to be a whole lot of Me Toos, and I'm thinking the guys need to go, you too? You know, not that some of these guys aren't guilty, but I don't believe Clarence Thomas is, and she is attacking Clarence Thomas. Now, he is a black judge, a Supreme Court judge. He went through all kinds of ridicule back in the early 90s when he was being scrutinized as to whether he could become a judge for the Supreme Court or not. And, I mean, they put the man through the ringer. And, of course, you know, they for a long time, and I don't know if they've changed that or not, but they didn't even have him in the Black History Museum. They wouldn't even put his picture there. But they had Margaret Sanger's bust there, you know, the woman that wants to kill all people. And so I just thought it was interesting that this idiot woman is going after Clarence Thomas, and it kind of goes into quite a bit of detail. It was a lengthy article coming from, actually, two of them this week, coming from the Daily Signal. One was written by Kevin Daly, and the other one was Tiffany Bates and Elizabeth Slattery. But it says that they're going after him because of his worldviews, because he is constitutional. And, of course, they believe that if you're constitutional, you're against women, against women's rights. You know, I mentioned Joy Behar last week.
Bahar.
Bizarre. I call her Bahar. Bahar. Anyway, she is she a pirate? Anyway, she
horror.
Stop it. Anyway, she now you make me lose my train of thought. She had claimed that anybody that says that God is telling them to do this or do that, they have mental illness. And then somebody sent me a video of when she did the very same thing during the campaign, that she felt God was telling her to stop Donald Trump and all of Donald Trump's people, that everyone that followed Donald Trump were against women and against women's rights and all kinds of crazy things. And but so I guess, you know, she also has mental illness, because if she goes by her own philosophy. But I thought it was interesting that distractions. I thought it was very interesting that this woman has written a book, and she's going after the impeachment of Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court judge.
Well, you got to do something, though. You know,
I guess.
You know, everybody. Well, you know, that's one of the things when you
we
get
should put her down.
We
should put her on the border with a mower.
Well, I mean, one of the things that you tell you about marketing a business and so forth is you should write a book. And that's what these people do. They just write books to write a book. So they pick a topic that might, be able to, and that's what I really need. I started writing a book, but we never finished it, and but that is what they tell you, and people just grab a topic and they grab the headline in order to, get the most attention, and hopefully it'll gain some speed. And so it's not really sometimes about making the amount of money that you hope to make on a book, but it just gives you credibility, and then you get to do the show, and you get dragged across a bunch of radio shows and so forth. Now all of a sudden you have all this credibility, and and all it was a book to get you to that point. So a lot of these books really don't mean anything. They're just marketing tools.
My kids have been telling me they want me to write a book, and they wanted me to write a book on how to raise 5 children and stay sane. I said, well, I'm not sure that I did stay sane, so I'm not sure I can write that book. But I did start it, and, a book of my life, and I know that's not necessarily the kind of book that maybe I should write for the radio program or something, as a host, but I can't write anything else. I have to write on what it's going along in my head. I know a lot of people are encouraging me to do it, and you should too, Melody. I mean, you've had quite a life, and your things you have been through can encourage other people, and you should do that. We should do that. They say get a ghostwriter, but they want money. Ghostwriters want money. I don't think they do that on consignment.
Well, there's one thing I want to talk about before we leave. We started, with what's going on with what we've seen coming out of the latest shooting down in Florida, and last night the with the CPAC going on and the speeches, and LaPierre did his speech and so forth, and you have major banks that are halting NRA credit card. You also have car rental firms that are ending discounts for NRA members. The nation's largest privately owned bank, holding company, and a major car chain said that they're going to stop promotions aimed at the NRA Association members. You have the Nebraska-based First National Bank of Omaha will not renew its contract to issue the group's NRA Visa card. The spokesman for this group said that customer feedback has caused us to review our relationship with the NRA. He declined to say when the contract would expire, and he would not elaborate on what sort of feedback the company had received. You also have rental car company Enterprise said its 3 brands would end a discount program from NRA members. So both companies released their statements dozens of times on Twitter in response and calls for them to sever the ties. Some Twitter users who identified themselves as customers pledged to take their business elsewhere. And that's what you need to do, folks. Those of you who have computers, get on there. And you know what? Just don't be nasty. Don't be, you don't want to be like them. But say, hey, let's take our business elsewhere. They don't need our business. Let's get them where it really hurts, is in their pocketbook. Because I'll guarantee you there's probably more of us than them.
There is.
And
there is. But
so
they're louder.
The announcements came after the progressive news website Think Progress listed them as companies that support the NRA. Think Progress noted that the First National Bank offered 2 NRA cards, each with a $40 bonus, and touted it as enough to reimburse your 1-year NRA membership. Other members, it also noted Enterprise offers members an unspecified discount. So yesterday they advertised that the NRA card had been disabled. Well, hey, if you had an NA arcade, if they disable it, well, do you have to make the payments on it? I'm not encouraging anything there, but I'm just saying if they disabled the card, well, they must have disabled the debt too, maybe. Highly unlikely, but so.
Well, and if they're giving you a discount, then they're out actually going to make more money because you're not going to get a discount anymore. But if you paid for that card, you could. I would say there might be some lawsuits coming out of that. If you had to pay for that card and you were promised something and now they're discontinuing it, I'd say there's some legal Smeagol stuff might come out of that. I'm not for all that. We seem to turn that around every time somebody sneezes, somebody's suing somebody. But, we need to speak out. We need to make our voices heard as well as conservatives. And that's the one thing about conservatives. It's like herding cats. Everybody wants to be independent and they don't want to do anything. But you need to make those phone calls. You need to make your voice heard. You need to say, listen, no more gun control. That's not the answer. That is not the answer. And let's look into some of the other issues that have taken place and the common denominators. And I think
tear up your NRA Visa cards and make sure you notify Enterprise that you will no longer rent from them. And,
I think so.
So they need to know.
They seem to have a big head where they think that they can do whatever to their customers and make whatever promises and then redig them.
No, they're just bullying society. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing.
Left are the biggest bullies around.
Yep.
And nasty people. They're nasty. They're vulgar as far as their behavior and their language. We're hearing freedom. Hearing free from Zach Brown Band, which means the show is over for today and over for the week. This is Friday. This week went fast. And I'm going to make a little traveling this weekend. I'm going to go see my physical therapist and see if I can't get on the road to recovery. We will see you, Melody, on Monday.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.